as soon as they yelled cut and we were waiting for the next scene to get done, we would always start speaking Spanish, or we would break into a Spanish song. And I think they kind of loved the way we played off of each other like that. And they were like, okay, you guys are going to speak Spanish in this scene and you make it your own. So for them to give us almost that space to create and to bring our own personal flavor, our culture, was just so beautiful, and it meant a lot to us.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Pop Culture Planet. I'm your host, Kristen Maldonado, and I'm so excited to share an interview that I did with Haskiri Velasquez, who stars in the brand new Saved by the Bell. She talks about Latinx representation, going for your dreams, and what it's like starring in this iconic show. Enjoy our conversation. I gotta say, I fell in love with you on Saved by the Bell. Your character, I related to her so much. I love that you're playing this character who is this hardworking Latina put in this kind of different position. Everybody's trying to figure out their lives at this school. So I'm curious, what is your relationship like with your Latinx heritage? How did that inform your role?
I play Daisy Jimenez, and outside of my character, I'm Dominican and Puerto Rican. And I grew up also, you too? Are you both?
Yes, yeah. Oh my gosh. You're from New York, right?
Yeah, born and raised in New York. Yeah, and the Washington Heights area. Are you familiar with Dyckman?
A little bit. I lived in Washington Heights for a year.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm from the Dyckman area. So over there, they actually call it Baby DR because it's filled with so many Dominicans, and the culture there is just so live. And I kind of grew up almost in a sense understanding more of my Dominican side of my family and the culture and what I do and what I celebrate. And when I got Daisy's character, her description was very general and almost kind of broad, but I knew that I can bring some of my Latinx heritage into that and show that flavor that maybe someone else who was auditioning for Daisy wouldn't be able to put that little taste into, So definitely growing up, I celebrated so many, Hispanic cultures and Latinx cultures, and but I never really got a role where I can actually showcase that. I've never gotten a role where I can speak Spanish like Daisy does so often like that, or even a lead role where you kind of see the story from her perspective. So I definitely, when I got this role, I was like, okay, I'm going to put everything I know into this audition because I know that there's not much representation out there. Especially for the young Latinx community, the young Latinas, they don't see someone that looks like them around their age range that portrays in a bright light, if that makes sense. It's always a cop drama or, The Mistress or something like that. You don't see her striving to be great, working towards her future, wanting more for herself, wanting more for her family. So when I got that, it was just the right role. And I think it came at such a perfect time for me because in a way I was almost starting to lose hope in the industry. And I'm like, maybe I'm going to be 30 and then make it. But then who would I almost, in a sense to myself, I almost asked, who would I be inspiring, or who would be able to relate to someone like that? So I definitely wanted to get into a show where I can play 15, 16 and speak to the younger generation. So yeah, I'm just so blessed to play Daisy.
I felt so connected to your character, and the fact that she wanted to be class president and make all these changes and was so ambitious. I feel like that's not something we always get to see, and I think that's stuff we need to see more of. It's these ambitious Latinas just getting things done. I love what you were saying about influencing the younger generation. I think what was so great about the show, obviously, is, we do get those callbacks to the 90s and the OG show, but you guys really, I think, paved a way yourself. I was really looking forward to just watching what your characters were up to. And you did tap into those fun pop culture things like the Euphoria episode, where you're tapping into the things that all these young people are into. What was it like filming a scene like that and kind of, bringing the things that we all love in pop culture kind of into the show? I think you guys did it seamlessly.
Originally being, from the islands, I have a natural curly hair. So my straight hair is more it's a process, right? I go to the salon and I go in rolos and I stay under the dryer for about an hour, half an hour. So that, when I was able to do that episode in my natural curly hair, I just woke up and I was just myself from the very beginning. And I truly love that they kind of incorporated that into Daisy's character because it shows the two sides of who I can be and who Daisy can be, and how we are all different from hair texture to color to, you know, everything. So I love how they allowed Daisy's character to actually portray that and show that. But it was just a lot of fun. I mean, I was in hair and makeup for about 2 hours, maybe 3 hours a day, and getting glammed up. I mean, how often do you get to put like bedazzled your face and it be okay to walk around like that? So I was getting a lot of like Diana Ross, a lot of like Selena, because I had the bustier with the high waist, and it was just, I was living my best life as that character, and hopefully she can make another appearance somehow, some way.
That's awesome. I love what you said though about the natural hair. I thought that that was really empowering to be able to see that, and you know, you looked so glam and so beautiful, and I was like, girl, now I really want my natural curls back. I think that's so inspiring. You mentioned Selena. I mean, icon. Are there any Latino stories or characters in general that have kind of impacted you, that you saw on screen, that you just really have connected with over the years?
You know what's funny? I think as a young girl, the only person I honestly related to, and maybe I was just uneducated in a sense of like film and where to find these Latinx stars, but also maybe there wasn't enough, and also maybe they weren't promoting it as they should have been promoting it, or, you know. So the only person I definitely related to was Jennifer Lopez. I mean, I grew up watching her all the time, hearing her music, buying her clothing, just trying to be her in a sense. But I would say in the recent years, maybe 6-7 years, I started hearing more about America Ferrera, and I watched Real Women Have Curves and Gina Rodriguez, and I watched Jane the Virgin. But when I watched Real Women Have Curves, I saw someone that I could actually relate to, because I was always curvy. I felt like I had this, to be honest, I had this like love and hate relationship with my legs, because I was like, if only I was skinnier, I could have gotten that role. I literally used to say that to myself, like, if only I can shed the weight and be skinny and be this figure, I can be an actress. And it was almost creating like this self-hate within myself. So when I saw that and being able to see her on screen as a lead, I was just like, what am I saying right now? Like, it's possible for me to be an actress and look the way I look, not have to change myself, and not have to pretend like I'm someone I'm not. So I definitely looked up to America Ferrera as well within the last 6-7 years. Gina Rodriguez is just such a badass too. I mean, like Miss Bala, when I saw that, I was like, that's a future role I would love to play. And I know that now we can play those roles because we can be so many things. I think when people hear, oh, she's a Latinx actress, they kind of put us in a box. And it's kind of like, you don't have to put us in a box. We can tell all these stories that don't necessarily have to be only Latinx based. We can be whoever we want to be, because we are so many things, you know?
When you look at the communities that we come from, you know, there's doctors and lawyers and teachers and all these different things. And it's like, you just don't see those necessarily on screen all the time, but that doesn't mean that that's not what's in our communities.
Right. They do exist. It's not like they don't. They do. But it just takes the right person to, you know, share that story and write that story, and the right people. So America Ferrera is doing it. She has her own production company, Gina Rodriguez. Just all these amazing women that are paving the way and opening doors for so many of us.
Absolutely. Now, one of the other things you mentioned was being able to speak Spanish on screen. I loved seeing you and the character Aisha speaking Spanish together. I feel like you don't always get to necessarily even see Afro-Latinos in leading roles, which was amazing to see the two of you and your friendship on screen, and it was so great. What was it like working with this cast?
I say this all the time, I'm blessed, because I've heard like horror stories of other casts, and I'm like, I could never imagine something like that. You know, Alicia, Josie, Dexter, Belmont, Mitchell. I mean, the day we all met at the table read, we went straight to Aroma Cafe and we sat there for hours just talking, and we connected on so many levels, and we were so interested in each other's lives, and we asked all these questions that, ironically, in a sense, kind of helped when we stepped into these characters' shoes, because we kind of knew so much about each other that we knew why they were probably making that choice as their character. And it helped create that chemistry on screen that we wanted to bring. But specifically with me and Alicia, who plays Aisha, and I think I don't know if this was written in prior, so if I'm wrong, Tracy, I love you, but once they yelled cut, me and Alicia would always speak Spanish. Like as soon as they yelled cut and we were waiting for the next scene to get done, we would always start speaking Spanish, or we would break into a Spanish song. And I think they kind of loved the way we played off of each other like that. And they were like, okay, you guys are going to speak Spanish in this scene and you make it your own. So for them to give us almost that space to create and to bring our own personal flavor, our culture, was just so beautiful, and it meant a lot to us. And we had a blast. Like we literally were talking over each other like, and they're like, okay, cut. And we're like, we could go on for hours. I mean, you give us the green light, we're going to go for hours. But it was beautiful because we were able to, say what we wanted to say. We didn't have someone telling us like, maybe you should say this. It was kind of like, you're free to do what you want.
You really get that authentic, what people would actually say, not what people think that you would say.
I'm from Washington Heights, so I would say it a different way just because of the way I grew up. And then I would say how I would say, and I think it was beautiful because then you can, so many young girls watching are like, oh my God, yes, that's exactly how I would say. And I'm like, yeah, because, you can relate to Daisy, she is authentically her. And I think it was so beautiful and so smart.
Where did your love of entertainment come from? Did you always grow up dreaming of acting?
Yeah, I mean, I can literally dig up old videos of me as a child, and as soon as the camera came on, I'm literally like dancing or acting like I'm somebody else. But I think in a way, subconsciously, I think growing up, I grew up in like, a lower income household, and I didn't have the right resources to access what I wanted to do in life. And I think creating characters in my mind, it was almost like an escape for me, right? I could be this rich woman, right? Whatever. Or I can be, the princess or the queen. So I think I always created these stories subconsciously in my mind as a getaway from my living situations, which wasn't wrong. I had such great support, and I have amazing, parents and brothers. But I didn't have the right resources that I wanted. And I felt like if only I can get a little more. So I think I created these stories in a form of escape. And it wasn't until maybe I was 9, I told my dad, like, okay, professionally, this is going to be my career. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no plan B. If this doesn't work, I'm going to be homeless. And that's the end of the story. And my dad told me, like, well, if you get a certain grade in school, because there was a love and hate relationship with school as well, I must admit. And he was like, if you get these grades, I will pay for your acting classes. And so I literally went to school the next day and I was like, pick on me, miss. I'll write everything you want me to do. I got the grades, and literally I came back to him and I was like, here's my report card. You promised me this. Here's the class I want to take. And he kept his word. And I think having that support, and having parents that believed in you also gave me the courage to keep going after all these no's. I mean, I've been doing this since forever, and this is my first series regular role. And the fact that it's a character that I can bring myself into just means a lot more to me.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations. I'm really crossing my fingers for a season 2 because you guys killed it. Thank you so much. It was great speaking with you. I'm so proud of a fellow New Yorker, Dominican, Puerto Rican, making it, doing big things. So congrats.
Thank you, Kristen.
If you guys like this one, you can check out more Pop Culture Planet right over here, and I will catch you in my next video. See ya.